This podcast is a casual conversation about mental health. All topics discussed are based on our own personal opinions and should not be interpreted as professional advice. If you need assistance with your mental health, please contact a healthcare provider.
I'm overstimulated, expect the long-awaited abolition of my brain.
But if mentally we synchronize, despite what we despise, there's a chance that maybe I won't go insane. Hi, friends.
Hello, friends.
And John.
Hi. Hello, loved ones and cared ones, and Emily.
Thank you. Thanks for including me in that. Welcome to Mental Sync, everybody.
Welcome to Mental Sync. Mental Sync. It's the only show where we look up at the stars and the infinite, ever-growing universe, and we just go, what?
Just every day.
Every day. So much, so confusing, so overwhelming.
If you didn't catch on to the fact that we try to make our tagline similar to the episode, this episode
Sometimes
is about a topic that I have a very hard time pronouncing.
We're going to talk about
existentialism.
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 Eggs
And Benedict.
We're going to... Benedict Cumberbatchism.
John's going to say that word for the rest of the episode. I'm going to type it when we...
It's existential. Like, forget the ism, just existential. There's no T. It's not existential. It's existential.
Are you sure there's no G?
T. No G.
You said eggs. Like eggs. Is it eggs or is it eggs? Existential.
Eggs are sentient.
There we go. That's the one. I'm going to give up on trying to pronounce it because I really I don't use this word often. So
hey, that's okay. I use it all the time. We're going to talk about the universe. We're going to talk about everything and the vast, infinite everything and nothingness.
And how nothing matters.
And how nothing matters at all. And everything matters. Existentialism.
There you go. See, it's not just me.
Yeah, I know. Existentialism is one of my favorite topics to get into because I like to just kind of, as an airbender, air sign, cloud watcher, space cadet, I like to often just let my mind just go, just wander and detach. You know how some people have like resting bitch face?
Yes.
That's like a thing that people will say. Yeah. I've always felt like I've kind of had resting bitch face. But what I've realized is it's like resting depressed face.
Resting depressed.
And that's not to say that and that's the thing is like people who have resting bitch face, they're not actually just angry. Like they'll just kind of like space out and at default just kind of be like they just look pissed. They just look like they're in a bad mood. That's me, but I look sad, I've learned. And that's for no reason other than I just sometimes relax all the muscles in my face and I look deep in thought because I usually am. And so the number of times over the quarantine that Gabby would look at me and I'd be like pretty high usually and like sitting in a beanbag chair, just kind of like, and Gab would like make eye contact with me and be like, are you okay? Are you good? Oh, if people are just listening to the podcast, it's essentially the blank look that Perry the Platypus puts on when he's disguising himself as a mindless domestic pet. Where his eyes just kind of go like wide in either direction sideways. And, I just look completely detached from my body. And that's because I'm thinking about it all and how it all works. And I think we've got a lot to talk about in terms of how it all works.
I agree. I would just like to say that I don't have resting depressed face. I have resting I don't want to be here face. And that's like never the truth. It's more so that I'm just in my own head as well, and it just looks like I'm like not like I've noticed it in some of our episodes. It's like I'm tired. Yeah. Like the last episode, like I had dark circles around my eyes. I was exhausted. I think that was the week that I was sleeping. I wasn't sleeping. The week that I was just asleep.
That was the week that I was trying to sleep. It was this thing I was trying where I was like, what if I just like go to bed instead of staying up and being
You know, that would have
Narcoleptic?
been
Is that?
that. No, that's when you fall
No.
asleep randomly.
That's when you fall asleep
Yeah,
randomly, right?
an
It being an
insomniac.
insomniac, that's what I was thinking of.
Insomnia.
I was nervous that I was going to say a term that was not I was worried I was going to say like when you're being like a pyromaniac.
Yeah.
It's just something that's completely off. Oh boy,
Um,
this is going to be a fun one. Oh, we both
yeah,
just woke up, speaking of
literally.
sleep.
So yeah, John made me watch a movie before
I
this
did.
episode.
Yeah, we were talking about how we were going to talk about existentialism. And I was
Eggs
like,
and sensualism.
eggs and sensualism. And you know what? I was like, Emily, you have to watch this movie that I've been telling you to watch for a long time. It's called Everything Everywhere All at Once. And it's a movie all about existentialism and the uh complexity that is the like multiverse theory. And it's a really fun sci-fi film that's also about like a really tight family narrative. And Emily has been not telling me her thoughts about this movie, and I'm very nervous because sometimes we have the same thoughts on movies and sometimes we have different thoughts about movies, and I'm
so,
nervous.
so would you like to give a brief synopsis of this movie, like in the sense that like doesn't spoil things? Like I know you kind of
Sure.
just did, but like to explain it a little bit
Yeah,
further.
well, yeah, the premise of the movie is that it's a multiverse movie. We have our main character Evelyn, right? Yeah,
Yes.
Evelyn, who is very much I think dealing with the feelings of like stagnation and like lack of purpose. Ultimately,
Mm-hmm.
she's not really satisfied in her marriage. She has a rough relationship with her daughter. She has like a tough relationship with her father. She's also a Chinese immigrant. Her father does not speak English. And she's I believe her daughter is like first generation American is the
Yes.
premise.
Yes.
Her daughter is queer, which she is kind of like trying to navigate because that's traditionally not something that she understands or believes in.
Yep.
And she is overall just and the family is facing I'm forgetting the term, but they have to go in for meetings with Jamie Lee
They're
Curtis
getting
about their
audited.
taxes. They're getting audited. Thank you. God, I couldn't think
Yeah.
of the word audited. They're getting audited. And as Chinese immigrants, that's an incredibly stressful thing. And so
Wait, that was Jamie Lee Curtis?
that was Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's a legend. She's a
She literally doesn't
treasure.
even look like herself.
She's amazing. She's absolutely incredible. She can do
I was like, she looks
anything.
familiar, but I don't know who that is.
It's Jamie Lee Curtis, baby.
That's amazing. I'm so happy that that's who that is.
Yeah, it's great. It's terrific casting. But the so the very tight story is about the generation gap, and especially the generation gap between like immigrants and the distance between Evelyn and her father, Evelyn and her daughter, and her daughter and her father. Also a love story about like she and her husband and like their compatibility. And then you just get thrown into this Matrix style narrative that is the entire universe is going to come to an end, and you, Evelyn, are the only person who can stop it. And so this person who has felt absolutely no purpose in life is always trying different hobbies, always, but like in her mind is like always trying to pursue a new career. She's suddenly the most important person in the entire multiverse. And the journey of the movie, without spoiling, I don't want to spoil like who the bad guy is of the movie, but the entire journey is her just kind of realizing like as she starts to come to terms with how vast and infinite the universe is, how literally anything can happen. Like they go off the rails with how like absurdist, it ranges from like terrifying to like disgusting to like just strange. But it really captures the fun that can be like multiverse theory. But what it ultimately comes down to is there are different ways that you can face the fact that we are so small. And, I don't want to say insignificant because that's not quite the take of the movie, but the fact that we are so small in regards to the universe and the multiverse, you can look at, and, relating to, I think, what it's like in this day and age, even with just what's going on in our world, just feeling not significant and feeling not in control. You can look at that in a depressive sense, in a depressing way, and think, well, we don't matter, nothing matters. And, you can go down that route, which a lot of people do. It's very common. Or in the kind of conclusion of the movie, you can look at that as, hey, nothing matters. We can do whatever we want. We need to live for ourselves. Like, nothing matters. And this is more my line of philosophy, which is very subjective, but it's the idea that nothing matters in the larger scale of things. Like, all of our choices are ultimately so insignificant in terms of the universe, but they are important to us, and they are important to our lives, and they are important to our stories and the people that we care about, and that's important. And so it's just really about, like, finding happiness in, the little things that absolutely don't matter but make a difference to us still.
Right.
And I think it's really, really beautiful.
So,
all right, drag it, tear it apart, give me your thoughts.
So I have to say it's one of the strangest movies I watched.
For sure, no doubt.
Life. And I spent the entire time with this look on my face. Just like, pure, just like, I don't even want to say confusion, but more so just like,
it's overwhelming, it's overstimulating, which is the point. But it's
I was sitting there for half the movie, like, no, for the entire movie. questioning my choices to watch movies that you tell me to watch. Here's what I have to say about it. I really enjoyed the message. I really did.
I'm glad.
I had such a hard time, like, taking it seriously. Because these people at one point had hot dogs for fingers.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's the point. And I totally get that. I totally agree.
I think it was very well done. I think I was able to. I got it.
Yeah.
Like, I totally understood the whole thing, Like, it was one of those things where I was like, wow, that was actually, like I get why it went where it went.
Yeah.
But I just struggled with, like, it being... And, again, like, this is something that, like, everybody feels differently about. Like, I think because it was technically, in a way, such a serious movie, like, as to what it was talking about, but it was just not.
But then also, spoilers without spoilers, hot dog fingers, raccacoonie.
Yes.
It's incredible. It's
my favorite one was when they were rocks.
Yeah, when they're just rocks, and then she turns around and she has googly eyes. And it's just, I want a framed picture of her, like, turned around as the Rock with googly eyes, just says, "There are no rules."
Yes.
And
then they start moving, and then the rocks start, like, moving, and I was like...
Yeah, I will say, I would recommend a second watch. I understand if you won't, but...
Well, I bought the fucking movie.
Well, so you'll have to. Great. I'll make you rewatch it with me.
Okay.
I saw it twice in theaters. What I will say, what's great about the movie on a second watch is you're ready for the weirdness of it, and it's so much easier to watch what is a very tight story of ultimately, like, 5 cast members. Ultimately, you've got you've got Evelyn, you've got her husband, you've got her daughter, you've got her father, and you've got Jamie Lee Curtis as the auditor, and that's, like, for main characters, that's pretty much it. Like, there are other little
and Becky.
And Becky, yeah, but, like, but Becky doesn't have a huge part, in terms...
No, she's in there for maybe a total of, like, 10 minutes.
Right. But it's just, like, the idea that we're talking about the multiverse and, like, how literally anything is possible, and it feels that big, it feels like they go way outside the realms of reality, but it's really tight story-wise, like conceptually story-wise.
No, I 100% agree. Like I really enjoyed like the story and the message behind it, because it really gets you to think about things in a different perspective.
Yeah, but hot dog fingers. But, like, I did not warn you about hot dog fingers.
No, you didn't. And also, like, at one point, like, Jamie Lee Curtis like shoves her hot dog fingers into and I was like, no, that was the part. So I sent John a video of myself at the end. There's like this huge montage of like all the universes at the end. And that's when the hot dog fingers thing happens. And they learn to play the piano with their feet. So okay, so that was what I wanted to talk about too. But so remind me feet piano in like 2 seconds.
I love this movie so fucking much.
But so when that, I like sent John this like video of myself like just with my reaction to that end montage, and I'm the entire time like,
you looked horrified.
And this was like this was my genuine reaction. Like I didn't go back. I was like, all right, like there's like 10 minutes left of this movie. I'm going to record the last 10 minutes, because it's not like throughout the movie you're like, oh, is something funny or weird going to happen again? You just knew. I was like, all right, it doesn't matter. Like I don't need to know what was going to happen. It was literally a genuine, literally were watching me watch it.
Yeah, no, it's you're watching the movie and you're just like, well, it hasn't stopped being weird, so I don't know why it would stop being weird.
Yeah. And then John's response to my video was, well, ... did you enjoy yourself?
Well, I was worried. I was worried that you were going to come out of this and be like, that wasn't good. And I was
like the Hateful Eight? Like
was
that your fear?
A little bit. I was a little worried that you were going to compare it to the Hateful Eight, which I would have taken.
No, because I wasn't bored.
Yeah.
But we're not going to get into that tonight. We won't get into it. But what I wanted to say about the message that I enjoyed, there's another word for this. It starts with an N, and it's another like philosophical theory, and I cannot remember it. But anyway, it's about how like, yes, that's the one. It's basically about how we are like if you had hot dogs for fingers, right? Like in that universe existed, you would find ways to do the things that you loved. Right. So in that universe, they learned to play the piano with their feet.
Yeah.
So like so again, there's like a really like deep message behind the insanity that is this movie. And when John was like, it's a movie about like philosophy and all this, was like, oh cool, it's gonna be like a really interesting movie. And instead I was like, why is Jamie Lee Curtis shoving her hot dog fingers down the main character's throat?
Yeah. It's just the idea of like not taking yourself seriously to the extent where you think you have to control everything, because you can't. And lean into the silliness, lean into the joy that is life. And it makes me very happy, this movie. I think my favorite I think my favorite pastime now is tricking you into watching movies that I like. It's my favorite. It's my favorite thing to do.
So I was telling my dad about this movie yesterday, and at like during the trailer, he was like, this is a movie that only someone who went to film school would know about. And I said, yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
So I guess we should also say that this entire episode isn't just going to be about this movie.
No, but
we're going to like dive into this a little bit deeper. But I think it is a good representation of just kind of like the thoughts and ideas around why we exist.
Yeah, what did you take from it? I mean, how did you in your time reflecting on the movie, like outside of the movie itself, how did you feel about the overall message? Like, I know you said you liked it, but what did it make you think about?
Honestly, I think like I notice in my own life that I get very caught up in just like everything has to be a certain way. Sometimes like I want everything to go a certain way just for like the ease of it, right? Like this has to be done this way so that this happens. And it's like I'm caught on the idea that like nothing matters, and not in a negative way, but just kind of like it's okay. Like it really, at the end of the day, like if I did my best, right, and I came at everything in life with like a full like whatever I encompass as a being, right? Like I came at it with like love and like compassion and whatever, you know, like then I've succeeded in my own like life mission in a sense,
Yeah.
in all the little things that we do. So again, like it's not that negative, like, oh, nothing matters. Like it's not gonna matter. It's more so like, no, it really
Yeah.
doesn't
It's like
matter.
nothing
Like,
matters.
and because I did put like all my time and my effort in like a positive light and way into whatever I'm doing, like that's what matters to
Yeah.
me, because that's what's gonna make my existence while I'm here like
Right.
valuable.
And
So that's kind of what I took away
yeah,
from
no,
it.
that's
But
it's the same thing that I took, and I had already started touching on this, but it's the idea that like nothing matters in the grand scheme of things, but things can matter to you. Things can, it's
right.
kind of like, okay. there's there's a great story when I was doing Red Caps, which is the orientation group at University of Hartford. They would always read us before we did a session this thing called the Starfish Story, which I think is really beautiful. And it's just kind of a story about being a helpful person, helping people. And it's ultimately comes down to like a little girl is on the beach and she's throwing starfish back into the ocean. And a man comes down to her and is like, little girl, why are you doing this? Surely you have to understand that you can't actually make a difference. You can't actually like throw all of these starfish, back into the ocean and you won't even make a dent in the total number. Like it doesn't really make a difference. And then she looks at him, throws a
Mm-hmm.
starfish into the ocean and goes, made a difference for that one. And it's just the idea that, yeah, maybe you can't make a difference on the grand scheme of things, but you can still make a difference, for yourself, for your individual life, for others and their lives. And that's important. That's significant.
Well, and that's the whole reason we did this
That's the
podcast, is
whole
it not?
thing.
It's like it doesn't matter if it helps 70 bajillion
Yeah.
people versus like one person. Like I feel like my time doing this and the effort that we're putting into this matters, not only because it's something that I enjoy doing, but also because if it can help one person, like just one, and even if it's you and I,
Oh,
like even if
yeah.
this
And
is
it
just
has
helping
been.
me and
It's
you,
been very therapeutic, I think,
yeah,
for both of us.
yeah. And so like even if it just helps us, like I'm
That's
fulfilled with
positive.
that, and that's
Yeah.
the purpose, you know. So I think that that's a really valuable
Yeah.
story. I actually
Yeah,
really
it's a
like
good
that one.
one, And in terms of the podcast, I've settled into the fact that we're probably not going to uh cure all mental health until at least episode 30.
Yeah.
So I recognize it might be a minute before we uh
We
cure
cure
everyone's
everybody's
mental
mental
health
health
issues,
issues.
but for now we're just we're doing our thing and it's nice for us, and we have that one listener in France. Shout out to our one
France.
listener in France. We're international. We did it.
Just just I don't know how that happens. Just one
Hey,
person in France, but
welcome.
welcome.
Bonjour.
Bonjour, he
it's I don't
says.
know. Whatever. I shouldn't be allowed to be
Yeah,
on
well,
a platform on the internet.
same,
Here we
but
are,
yeah, here
though.
we are. um okay, so off of your little story, another thing that I kind of wanted to touch on is like which it doesn't really pertain to like eggs and benedict, but it pertains to just kind of like I guess our life like I guess I don't know, but so like let me just say it because I
Yeah,
don't even
yeah,
know how to
yeah.
like
It's not
preface
about
it.
eggs over easy, but it's
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 yeah.
something. Yeah, and I know what you mean. Where
Yeah.
it doesn't like contradict the multiverse theory of nothing matters, but it's like a supplement, like a yeah, nothing
Yeah,
matters. Everything's do whatever you want. However,
there's the butterfly effect,
yeah,
which is one of my mom actually like loves this theory, and she like bought me a book about the butterfly effect, which in short, without applying it to anything larger than a butterfly, it's
hmm
basically when a butterfly flaps its wing, you know how small butterflies are, how that then creates this reaction to everything in its environment around it.
yeah,
um so again, it's similar to your little starfish story, right? Like
yeah,
it's like everything you do has in a way a consequence, and consequences can be good or bad, you know, and like,
yeah, consequence is a pejorative term, but it's ultimately it can result in positive things as well.
right. So it's just like one of those reminders that like, hey, every decision you make, everything you do does affect someone, something, somewhere, somehow. You know? So maybe we should name the episode that. Somewhere, someone, somewhere, something, somehow.
Somewhere, something, somehow, everyone, all at once, Eggs and Benedict.
Or we can just name it Eggs and Benedict. I'd be fine with that. It'll be Eggs and Benedict, Eggs and Benedict.
It's yeah, so the butterfly theory, or the butterfly effect, not to be confused with the time travel version of it. It's not the same as the, you know, oh, you step on a butterfly and it has consequences for the future, but it's of a similar vein. That's like,
Yeah,
every little action does, you know, it's not relating to time travel, but the idea being that any little thing that is changed may actually have massive effects because of how connected everything
right,
is.
right.
And
So I
that's
think in the book, I don't mean to cut you off, but like
no,
in the
please
book,
cut me
one
off.
of the things it said was like when the butterfly does flap its wings, right, it changes the shift in like the wind, right, and then a
Yeah.
bee might go to a different flower, and that might pollinate a different thing, and then that grows into this, and then some little girl picks up the flower, and it just it's a like a snowball
And
effect.
then she
Like
gives
it's
that
just like,
flower to a different guy that isn't your dad, and then you're not even born.
I mean, exactly. So one of the things I wrote in our little episode notes, and I'm not even looking at them because I couldn't get my screen to turn on because my charger was being weird.
Yeah.
But I remember this is just, and John has no idea what this means. It's just Jenna.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now and I see Jenna, and I don't know who Jenna is or what Jenna is or
I was
what.
supposed to be Jenna. That was supposed to be my name.
You were supposed to be Jenna. Oh,
I was
wow.
supposed to be Jenna. But the reason why I bring this up is because literally when my mom told me that story, I think it was like between like 5 and 7. And my thoughts immediately, I kid you not, at like 5 were like, well, would I be the same person if my name was Jenna? Like, if
That's
just the
interesting.
idea, yeah, no, I literally struggle with this still to this day. Every now and then I think about this. If they just changed my name, even though I was the same being, right? Like, I was still born
Uh-huh.
this, but my name was Jenna, how would that have affected me?
What do you
Right? Like,
think?
would I be the same person?
Who would
I
Jenna
don't
be?
know. I don't know. I don't know because I literally think about this and it drives me insane. Like this is my like this is my the hole that I like
Yeah.
will just dig deeper and die in. Like this
Yeah.
is I really struggle with this idea because it's like there's so many different things that can be affected just by your name being different.
Yeah. I think about that a lot too. A lot of there's ugh, I hate that I'm relating this to Rick and Morty, but there's a Rick and Morty
No, there's
episode.
actually a lot to say about Rick and Morty.
There is a
Like,
lot to say about Rick and
yeah,
Morty.
but anyway,
On top
continue.
of it being at times very problematic and childish,
Yes.
it also touches on some pretty cool stuff. Like, there's an episode where I think Rick gives Jerry and Beth, or like the family, something where they could see what their lives would be like had they, like, in different dimensions where they had made like these decisions or whatever.
Yeah.
I've thought about that my entire life. Not that episode, obviously, but my entire life I've thought about like, oh, I'd love to just see like what would have happened if I had said yes to being in that club, or what if I had said no to doing this thing.
Right.
I've always kind of been obsessed with that, and I think that's another thing that, like, not to come back to the movie, but Everything Everywhere All at Once, Eggs and Benedict, really spoke to me about, or really said to me, um,
Yeah.
is just about, you know, not getting caught up in the what ifs,
Right.
because you're gonna overwhelm yourself.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing is I feel like when we put this as a topic for the podcast, my first thought was like, okay, well, how is this going to relate to like mental health? But I think that's exactly how it relates to mental health,
Yeah.
right? Is like people can get very caught up on these ideas of like, first of all, what if, and also like just why am I here?
Yeah, why am I
Right?
here? And like, you know, if you're like if you're like you and I, uh trying to preemptively organize everything to get the exact results that you want. And then when you veer off from those results, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
how am I not in control of all these things in my life? And then getting overwhelmed by what I think personally is, I'm not going to say the issue is thinking that you're too significant. That's the wrong way to word that. But it's the lack of acceptance that everything in
Mm-hmm.
life is much bigger than you. And I think
Right.
feeling, okay, I'm going to say something for a second, and I hope it, I don't know, I hope it comes out the right way. But I think that we all need to take ourselves much less seriously. And that we all need to cope and cope with and really come to terms with the fact that we are very small. Because when we think that we're so big and significant, and then we're not able to control everything in our lives, it makes us seem, I've been there, and it makes me feel incapable. It makes me feel weak. It makes me
Mm-hmm.
feel like I can see all the things that I want to control, but I can't do it. And it seems like everything is just barely outside of your capabilities of like what you can control. When
Right.
in reality, it's so much greater. There are so many factors. All you can do is your best. All you can do
Right.
is prepare as best you can, but you there is no way to have an airtight or even watertight plan uh of like how your life's gonna go. You just don't know,
Yeah.
and it's
And I
okay.
think that's something too that I struggle with is like letting go of that control,
Yeah,
right? Like letting go of that feeling of like it has to be this way, or I really need it to be this way, and just being like, okay, so something didn't go the way that I planned. And I've experienced this recently in my life, right? Like there's been something pretty big that's happened, and I've been like, what do I do? How am I going to handle this?
yeah,
Like how am I supposed to, I guess, like all my plans kind of in the moment I felt like everything got derailed, right? I was
yeah,
like, well, now I can't do this, now I can't do that. But what I'm personally working on, and it also aligns with what I like. I truly like, my philosophy of life is that we are all exactly where we're supposed to be in this exact time, in this exact moment, in this exact wherever we are,
yeah,
right? Like this is very like, I wholeheartedly believe that. But I sometimes find myself reminding myself that, right? Like when something happens and I'm like, oh my God, like what am I going to do? How is this going to like affect me? How am I going to like move on from this? And my plan was to do this and then this and then this, and it didn't work out right. And then I have to take a step back and be like, okay, it's okay. First of all, like it's literally not the end of the world.
yeah,
And two, like I'm where I'm supposed to be for whatever reason.
yeah,
Like for whatever reason, this is supposed to happen. And I feel like that's, some people don't believe that, right? Like it's like, oh well, that's like an effort of like, that's like about effort, or like you didn't put in a much, like this much effort, or this didn't happen. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, so maybe not in your eyes, but like with what I'm going through, like I think that this is something that wasn't meant for me, right? So like
yeah.
I'm stuck, like I'm not stuck. I'm just kind of like, this is my reality. It's I don't know how to explain it. It's like a very difficult thing to like put words to.
No, I
But I guess what I'm trying to say is I really do genuinely believe that when things like that happen for some greater purpose or reasoning that I don't understand yet, there's a reason for that, right? Like this is supposed to happen because it's going to open this door, or it's going to do that. And not that I don't believe in like putting in the hard work to open another door, because I do. Like I do believe that once something like significant happens and it changes your plan, to take a minute and then think about, okay, but what else, like what else is there for me? How
right.
can I work towards what I want, or what's another way around this circumstance that I can still get what I want if that's still my goal? Or sometimes it makes me reevaluate my goals. I've been doing this for so long, is this something that I even really want anymore?
Yeah.
Right? Like is it? I don't know,
Because you get
so
stuck in
it's
the
like,
idea of like, well, this is what I've always known that I want. This is what I've like. You settle into the idea of like, oh, this is what I'm going for, and there is a point, I think, when you get caught up in that process where you stop questioning it, and
right.
it makes you question it. And I personally believe in questioning absolutely everything all the time, everywhere, all at once.
I was gonna say that.
I think, and what's interesting, and I like having this kind of discussion because I think you and I have slightly different philosophies on life in the universe in this kind of way, which I think is good.
Right.
And before I go into this, I should say that this is not me like disagreeing and saying, no, this is how I think it works. But I think we have different philosophies. And
and that's
my
fine.
personal belief is that everyone's theory is just a theory and all of them have equal validity. And what matters more so is what you take from it and what you do with it. And so I think mine, and you know, this is, I don't know if anyone, I guess I'll say I'm a little less spiritual, where I'm not sure. Like, I like to believe that we won't get into like religion today, but I like to believe that there's a greater balance and purpose to the universe and the way it works, and that, oh, if something isn't working out, then it's not meant to work out. I think that's great, and I think that's beautiful, and I could totally hop on board with that. I'm not sure it's exactly what I believe. Only not like because any reason, it's just because of how my brain works. I can be very ones and zeros with it all. But what I do think is that everything that happens, something good can be taken from it. I think my belief comes down to a little bit more autonomy that we have, you know, less like, oh, I'm not in the place.
Free will.
Yeah. Like, so the way I'll see a situation is not as much like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here, but it's more so, okay, this isn't working. What can I do? How can I solve that? How can I what can I take from this?
Right.
Ultimately still,
which I think, like, and I don't mean to interrupt
please.
you again, but like, I also, side note, since we just woke up, I haven't taken my Vyvanse yet today.
Yeah,
so
we're both
I have 7,000 thoughts.
Groggy as fuck.
I have 7,000 thoughts, and we're talking about something that requires 7,000 thoughts. So it's like really like 7,000 thoughts squared.
Yeah. Here we go.
But I would just, I guess I just want to say, like, just because I again struggle to like explain this is like, I am definitely like a little bit spiritual, but this is also coming from somebody who has like a degree in advanced sciences.
Yeah. I mean,
so there's just, I don't know, I just have this core belief that there's something else. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
I will even argue that I don't think that's mutually exclusive with science. Like, I don't think spirituality in terms of how the universe works, I think it's just a matter of what you believe exists.
I guess. Well, you know? Yes, and I guess the reason I bring that up is mainly because, like, being in this field, you hear so many people who are so hardcore against like being spiritual because they're like, it doesn't, like, science can explain everything, but
science.
Do I threaten to say this about my own career, right?
Science.
No.
My thoughts as a big science person as well. And a not very spiritual person, science, I think, can explain everything, but we don't know all the science. We don't know. Right. I think science can.
Science is ever.
Science, yeah. We don't know everything. We don't know. We haven't been to Mars. Mars. You know, Mars, the next planet, the one that's right there.
The one that's like burning. The one though, like, would you even want to go to Mars? It's like hot as hell there.
Well, is it? Is Mars hot? Because it's further away from the point. It doesn't matter. The point being that Mars is the next planet. Mars is the one next to us, which is just we are one planet in our solar system, which is a little blip, a little piece of.
Mars is cold.
Mars is cold.
Why did I think that Mars was
I'm not
hot?
sure. I didn't want to be rude. But it's further away from the sun. It's red, if that's what you thought.
Maybe that's what it was.
No, you're thinking of.
So
you're thinking of California.
Can we just?
California's red because it's burning.
Can we just say that? Let me just defend myself for a second. I do not have a degree in space. I have a degree that covers biochemistry and organic chemistry.
Hey.
All those advanced sciences. But if we were going to talk about planets, I still believe that Pluto is a planet. Because that's the big hurt of our generation right there. It says that Mars. Go ahead, you talk. I'm gonna read and also.
All I was gonna say is that we haven't even been. So we are one planet in a solar system of 8 or 9 planets, depending on your personal take on Pluto, which is one little blip of the Milky Way galaxy, which is one little blip, one little tiny little speck of the infinite and ever-growing universe, and we haven't even been to the next door planet. And so in my mind, I think we can all have our theories and our religions and our ideas of how it all works and what's happening. But I think for me, the insistence that we know, whether it's from a religion, whether it's from like scientists, the idea that, oh no, we know exactly how the universe works and you're wrong, I think is a trash take.
Yeah.
I think as a science person that isn't spiritual, it's my theory. It's our theory.
So I think the reason behind my like being spiritual is the why.
Mm-hmm.
Then why?
Yeah.
Why are we here? What's the purpose?
Yeah.
Is there a purpose? And it brings me comfort, which is, I think, a huge thing around people like religion. And again, this isn't going to be a religion episode, but like, I think it brings people comfort, which I think is good. Like, it brings me comfort to think that there's more, right? So like, so that when I like to believe that when I die, I'm just going to go, like, I just don't exist, like bugs my soul. So to believe that there's something else helps. And I think that that's like a big, and that's not saying that it's so hard to explain that, because it's not saying that like I'm believing it because it brings me comfort. I solely believe it, and it does. Right, I was going to say comfort.
That is a mental health benefit of, you know, we want answers to the universe. We're not comfortable not knowing and being in the dark, like especially, I mean, that's always been the case, but now we're especially like in this age of information where people just expect fast, instant answers. And we all need to be, and you know, that's also coming back to the movie, it's about how overwhelming it is to have all of these very firm answers with the entire world, and how overwhelming it is because the earth's in a state, but also like humanity is in a state, our country is in a state, fucking New York City is in a state, like we're all, it's a very hot time right now politically, and the social climate is it's hot, it's
but not like Mars. Which I say that because I want to bring it back so that I can tell you how cold Mars is. In the winter, Mars can reach negative 220 degrees Fahrenheit. Negative 220. So you're saying like you got to wear like a North Face
for sure if you're going to be on Mars. Listen, guys,
you're not going to need like you're going to need like a full on like, but it does average when it gets warm in the summer, over the lower latitudes in the summer, it's about 70 degrees. It's like a nice,
guys, t-shirts and shorts weather. Hop on over to Mars.
Even though it also says that the atmosphere is composed of primarily carbon dioxide. And the atmosphere is very thin.
Semantics.
Can I just say that my favorite thing ever? My favorite, it's a bunch of just red rock.
Yeah.
My favorite thing ever is when you go, oh, okay, because there's like this certain inflection in your voice, and it's like my favorite thing ever. So like, just keep doing that.
Copy that.
But anyway, the point to all of this, and I interrupted you, we went on a tangent, but bringing it back for a second, I just wanted to say that, again, I don't necessarily 100%, I just kind of wanted to correct myself in my own theory, like in what I believe in. It's just that I don't necessarily believe that like, oh, I'm not supposed to be here, because I do believe on working towards like a different solution.
Yeah, right. Like you're not like, you're not throwing your hands up in the air and saying I have no control. Let whatever's gonna happen to me happen to me.
Right. Like when it happens, I'm like, okay, so there's some reason that this is stopped. And not saying that like I don't have the free will to like change that, right? Because if I wanted to, I could really find a way to change it. right? Like I could really figure out a way
Absolutely.
around it, but it's more so this idea that like, okay, it's allowing me to take a step back and like reevaluate where I am and with what I want to do, and is and so I am able to question it, but I also do have that soul belief that like that's the right
Yeah.
moment for me. Like that moment where all of a sudden everything stops and it's like, okay, now it's time to reevaluate. That's more so the moment that I'm talking about. Not saying like, oh well, this is it.
Yeah.
Like this is just me. So I guess I just wanted to clarify that, because as you were like saying your beliefs, I'm like, no, I agree to an
Yeah,
extent.
no,
Like I was
we
like, I
are
think I just worded
our
what I was
ways.
saying
No.
wrong.
I don't think so. Our ways of going about life, our ways of dealing with the obstacles that we're facing, and the way that plans can change on a dime, we deal with that very similarly, you and I. Like we
Yeah,
have similar philosophies on like work ethic and self-care, and how.
because we definitely work way harder than we should 100% of the
Yeah,
time.
I mean,
That is us.
oh, I have a lot of thoughts on myself. I
It's
just,
fine.
man. I mean, listen, I just got myself a new book. It's called Drive. I don't know who it's by. It's not the Ryan Gosling movie. It's a book. But it's about it's about
How
but
unfortunate.
that's a great movie. Have you seen Drive?
I don't know, but I haven't, and I was just about to say I don't know if I'm gonna want to watch that one now.
We'll get to that later. But the book Drive, I don't know. I haven't opened it up yet. I just got it in the mail like last night. But it's about like intrinsic motivation, which is something that
Oh,
I very
okay.
much need to work on, because I very much get caught, as much as, yeah, we both do a lot of work. I oh, okay. I'm gonna try to not make this a therapy session to the fullest extent, but I have definitely been struggling recently with my insecurity of my intrinsic motivation. I very much need that um, external motivation. No, extrinsic motivation. Eggs
Eggs
and
and
Benedict.
Benedict.
I don't know terms. Um, the point being, I usually
Same.
need something to motivate me. I need a deadline. I need a creative partner, which is why this podcast has actually been happening, because sometimes I'm like, man, can I even carry on? And you're like, yes. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty much. And
Yes, and you're like,
it
okay, I guess
seems
I'll
like
try.
sad that that's all I need, but that's genuinely, but I need that. However, as a writer, as in trying to work on like my health, that's all intrinsic. No one's telling me to do that. And in fact, people,
Hmm.
we'll get into, never mind, we'll get into eating healthy another time. But the
Yeah.
point being, when you're bogged when you're bogged down by the universe and how massive it is, and just when you're questioning like, what's the purpose of humanity, and will we ever find peace on this earth, and will we move to Mars? Is the temperature okay on Mars? Will we when you start asking these really big questions, you know that that extra dessert doesn't seem so big. It doesn't seem like that much of a big deal. Taking that
Right.
extra mental health day, which is important. Mental health days are important. Um, it doesn't seem like such a big deal. However, I am
Right.
personally in a phase, and it's hard to say this because I'm always 100% on the train of like, take a mental health day, take care of yourself. But I'm currently in a phase of, okay, not every day can be a mental health day. I want that. I want every day to be a mental health day, but at some point I do need to do work. Um, and I tend to
Yeah.
jump between extremes of grinding and not taking care of myself versus only like doing no work and not being productive. And that does not work. So
Yeah. So I guess my
yeah,
question for you, for this not to turn into a therapy thing, but I think it's a very real thing and it's a good thing to
sure.
put on the podcast. My question to you is, when you feel like everything every time needs to be a mental health day, I think it's a good time to check in on your mental health.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Which is why, oh no, I know
maybe,
that. I
Be a little
no,
overwhelmed.
that's not to say, again, that's not to say like, oh, something's wrong with me. I'm, it's just more so, I'm trying to think of how to relate this back to like our topic of existentialism, but um it's, I think, realizing how much I do get caught up in the scope of everything. And
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I just think that like what I'm trying to convey here, because I think it's important for not only us to understand but for everybody who might listen, is that like when you do feel like maybe you've taken one too many mental health days, I think that's a good point to be like,
yeah, what's going on?
like maybe there's something that's bugging me. Like maybe I should look at like my workload or my ex, or not like your ex. I meant like a letter
Oh.
X. Like don't look at your ex. I meant like maybe my like X, Y, and Z
I
is
was
what I
like,
meant to say, but instead I'm
I was
like,
like,
go
wow, that
ahead,
got
look at
very
your ex.
specific very quickly. Just like, maybe you need
Yeah, I
to,
know, right? Can
take
you
a look
imagine?
at like your ex and think, what went wrong there and what's the point of it all. And,
I'm so tired. I haven't had coffee yet. It's
yeah,
fine. I meant as like a placeholder for something else that you need to look at and
yeah,
whatever. But yeah, I think it's good to always check in on that. Like if you feel like that's kind of occurring, to make sure that there's not another underlying reason like
yeah.
to it. Because again, like you said, we do fully support and believe
Oh
in
yeah,
mental health days. Like if you're not like, I mean, if you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it. And you got to take care of you first, and it's okay to take care of you, because even if it comes down to like, oh, well, it doesn't even matter, the universe is going to
right.
whatever. But it's like, but then also, if you take a mental health day, you know what's going to happen? The universe is going to continue to go on
Yeah,
without you.
it's cool.
So you don't have to worry about being like, how are people going to do this without me today? Well, they're going to do whatever they're going to
Right.
do
And that's
today without you.
actually,
So,
that's getting even more into that. Like, yeah, in terms of the universe, in terms of the world, in terms of even like your job, it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. You need to take a mental health
right.
day, and your work is going to be fine. Um, and it doesn't
Yes.
matter. But what does matter is what's important to you. And what I'm finding is I'm not overwhelmed by like, what do I have to do? It's kind of becoming like I'm becoming overwhelmed at my ability to accomplish what I want to do. And that's not to say like, I
Right.
shouldn't be hard on myself, but I can be hard on myself, and I'm in the process of figuring out like why. And, I don't have to write. I don't have to make a show. I can just make money. My life will be completely successful without being a writer. Like no one will be negatively affected by me not being a writer. But I had a therapy session a couple weeks ago where I was talking to my therapist about this, and I was just like, yeah, I just have such a hard time without deadlines and stuff like that. And she said, okay, bear with me for a second. I'm going to give you this prompt. You have 12 months left. You have 12 months left until the world explodes. Which is, a dark and scary to think about, but she's like, how do you spend it?
Mm-hmm.
How do you spend those 12 months? Like what do you want to do? Like genuinely, like you don't have to do anything. It's all going to be over in 12 months. What do you do? And I kind of sat there for a minute and I was like, I still want to write my stupid fucking show. I still I and I want to write my show, and I want to like work on my physical health because it's not for other people. It's for me. And I'm working on my ability to spend all of as much of my time as possible doing that and doing things for me in my life, because that's what matters to me. And I want to make a difference in other people's lives too. And when I'm in a good mental health place, I can help other people more. And it's the
Mm-hmm.
little things like that. It's the little things that are like, this is important to me,
Yeah.
and it could make a difference for someone else. And that's important to me. And yeah, I'm currently in a place where I'm working out how to just live my life as purely that way as possible and not be bogged down by stupid things like making money and you know all of that fun shit that unfortunately we do have to do.
Right.
It's hard. It's It's a whole
you know
thing.
What is a arguably terrible movie, but kind of touches on that.
Tell me.
And like breaking kind of that pattern is Free Guy.
Yeah,
the
Ryan Reynolds movie. I didn't see it, but
have you seen it?
No,
it's a
I heard
terrible.
It was fun,
it's a fun
terrible.
movie, but it's a terrible movie. But the message is important.
Cool. Yeah, I think the vibe I got was it's a
now you have to watch that.
All right, I'll watch it. The vibe that I got from it is that it's a story of like autonomy and ultimately being in control of your life and not being, feeling kind of like in a Lego movie sense, not being just a cog in the machine and like
you're just not a non-playable character.
Right, exactly, right. Cool. I'll have to check that out.
You have to watch it. Everybody should watch it, even though I'm not recommending it as like this is a great movie. Watch. Ryan Reynolds is going to listen to this episode and then he's going to hate me forever.
No, this is...
And I'm going to be like, no, but I love you because you're Deadpool. That's fine. Because Deadpool really isn't a character. He is Deadpool.
Yeah.
That's my theory. He is just
absolutely.
Deadpool.
He's playing a character named Ryan Reynolds.
Literally. So, but yeah, I mean, I guess to wrap it up for today, our number one wrap up, as always, I'll give you the honors.
You're going to do something weird. You're going to jump into another universe and you are going to find a multi-dimensional dog.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to pet that dog with your feet, with your hot dog fingers, with a raccoon on your head. It won't make sense unless you watch the movie Raccacoonie, but pet a dog.
Yes,
several dogs if you're able.
Yeah, some dogs. Pet some dogs.
Many a dog.
2, the world is a weird and messed up place, and it's okay to take a mental health day.
It's all good.
Let's see. 3 would be nothing matters, but everything matters.
Everything matters to you. If it makes a difference in your life, it's important. If it doesn't make a difference in your life, it's not important.
Yeah.
Be kind to others. Don't don't use that advice selfishly, but selfishly is the wrong word.
Right.
If you're being positive and if you're influencing people or yourself in a positive way, nothing else matters.
Right. Do things with purpose and do things that make you feel fulfilled and good and happy and be a nice person.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Yeah. So my last point was whether it's eggs Benedict or over easy eggs,
however you like them.
Just be you.
Just be yourself, man. That's all that matters.
That is all today. Which is a lot to think about. I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on this stuff, though. It's interesting to hear people's different points of views.
Yeah, we should peruse the comments section on our 12 viewers and see if anyone has anything interesting to say. We're on YouTube. Yes. I don't think you can comment on Spotify or whatever, but we have all of these episodes on YouTube.
Well, I'll make a little question that you can.
Oh, great! Yeah, how do you like your eggs cooked? Stuff.
Yeah, that's. I'm gonna put that and feel free to put whatever you would like in that. You could tell us actually, or you could actually tell us your theories about the universe.
The question is, how do you like your eggs cooked? But actually tell us your thoughts on all of it, life, the universe, and everything.
Yeah, because the way that your eggs cooked, does that matter? Like if you cook them one way? It probably doesn't.
Matters to you.
So that's true. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your week.
Have a lovely time.
We love you
so much.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Cool. Okay, are we happy?